Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Shelter Inc. We're delighted to have you all here today. It's so important for us to get the word out that the COVID-19 rental assistance program is continuing. There are plenty of resources. We've been on the ground helping our Contra Costa neighbors apply for this assistance for the past several months. And there's still plenty of assistance available. There are over 140 agencies helping vulnerable Californians apply for this assistance. So we do encourage everyone to continue to apply. Let us help you. We're happy to do so. And this morning, I'm happy to introduce of the Business Consumer Services and Housing Agency, Secretary Castro Ramirez.
Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. Thank you so much, Julie, to you, to Andrea, to Jackie, to the entire Shelter Inc. Team. Shelter Inc. is a partner with the state in ensuring that we are getting information and resources out to renters and landlords that have been impacted by COVID-19 and that are not able to pay their rent. They've done a tremendous job. As of today, about 4,800 residents of Contra Costa have accessed the rent relief program. That's about $55 million. And today, as Julie mentioned, we are here to do three things. This is the end of the month, and for many renters, the end of the month means preparing for making the rent on October 1st. We want to ensure that all renters who are having a difficult time paying their rent or who are continuing to owe rent know that the rent relief program is still very much accepting applications. Also, at the end of this week, we will be transitioning to a new set of renter protections against evictions. And we want to ensure that renters understand how these renter eviction protections will play a role in making sure that they're able to stay stably housed. First, just some background in terms of the rent relief program that the state is administering. This week, we are paying out about $65 million in additional rent and utility assistance for a total of $650 million paid out to about 55,000 households. We're operating and administering the nation's largest rental assistance program. Another significant milestone that we're marking this week is the fact that we have obligated, which means that we have paid out or approved for payment $1.69 billion in rental and utility assistance. So this enables us to be able to not only commit all of our emergency rental assistance program federal funds from round one, but we're now beginning to tap into round two. We are well positioned to ensure that at the federal level, as October 1st kicks in and they begin to reallocate dollars to states and jurisdictions in need, we're well positioned to receive dollars as a state, given the great performance that the state has had with rental assistance. But very important for today's gathering is the fact that on October 1st, there are changes that renters need to be aware of to continue to stay protected against evictions. And the changes include if you are unable to pay your rent, if you receive a 3-day notice to pay or quit, you should immediately apply for rental assistance. Applying for rental assistance is the best way to protect yourself against being evicted. We have an extensive network of organizations across the state that are working with us to ensure that renters have access to the program, that they have the assistance necessary to be able to complete an application. And I would encourage renter households and landlords seeking rental assistance to visit our housingiskey.com website. Again, housingiskey.com. Shortly, I will be introducing Director Velasquez. Director Velasquez is the director for the California Housing and Community Development Department. He will go into additional details about the rental relief program. But before I do so, I would like to share a few remarks in Spanish for the Spanish-speaking community. So if you will bear with me. Buenos días, soy Lourdes Castro Ramírez, secretaria de la Agencia de Negocios, Servicios al Consumidor y Vivienda para el Estado de California. Gracias por acompañarnos hoy en esta mañana. Como sabrán, las protecciones contra desalojos en California cambiarán el 1 de octubre, este viernes, y las protecciones modificadas contra los desalojos tomarán efecto. Hablaremos acerca de estos cambios en unos momentos, pero es muy importante que nos preparemos para este cambio. California está administrando el programa estatal de ayuda con la renta más grande en la nación y estamos progresando de manera significativa en la presentación de ayuda y en la ayuda que estamos brindando a inquilinos y propietarios. Y todo esto lo hacemos para evitar que las familias de bajos ingresos sean desalojadas y para poder estabilizar a los propietarios que también han sido afectados por esta pandemia de COVID-19. Hasta la fecha, hemos pagado más de 650 millones de dólares para ayudar a 55,000 familias. De hecho, con más de 300,000 casos activos en el programa estatal, hemos aprobado o pagado 1.69 mil millones de dólares del programa federal que estamos administrando. Contamos con una campaña en los medios de comunicación a nivel estatal dirigida por el Departamento de Vivienda y Desarrollo Comunitario de aquí del estado. También tenemos una campaña que incluye la televisión, carteles públicos y la difusión de información por medios sociales en mercados principales donde los inquilinos han sido más afectados. También hemos colaborado con organizaciones comunitarias para ayudarnos a correr la voz acerca de la disponibilidad de ayuda con la renta. Este 1 de octubre hay algunos cambios al programa y es muy importante que si un inquilino no puede pagar la renta y quiere prevenir el desalojo, es muy importante que apliquen para el programa de ayuda con la renta. Al aplicar para el programa de ayuda con la renta, esto les va a ayudar contra el desalojo. Ahora quiero presentar al director del Departamento de Desarrollo y Vivienda para el Estado de California, el director Gustavo Velázquez. Gracias.
Good morning, buenos días. Thank you, Madam Secretary. As she mentioned, eviction protections are changing as of this Friday, October 1. But there is plenty of rental and utility relief still available. We have received close to 300,000 applications in this state rent relief program. But we know the need is still out there. We've always been operating under an estimate of more than 700,000 households in the state of California behind rent because of hardship caused by COVID. So we're still way short of our goal to cover the rent debt of anyone in the state that needs help. So the message this morning, just doubling down on what the Secretary said, is very simple. We need in the next 100 hours, in the next 4 days, we need anyone who is behind in rent and utilities since back to April of last year, 2020, up until today, anything that they owe, whether they've only paid a few of the months, whether they've only paid a portion of their rent, we need everyone who is behind to apply to this program so that they are protected from eviction. Now, yes, make no mistake about it, landlords can start eviction proceedings after October 1, but this process can be stopped on its track if tenants follow a few rules that we've been talking about today. We're here to help tenants guide to protect themselves and their families from losing their home and getting back on their feet. The state of California cannot afford low-income working families from falling off the cliff, being evicted. We have an acute problem of homelessness. We cannot afford getting that program any bigger. The cost of housing in California will make it difficult for people who are evicted to find the housing stability they once had. But the help is still here and is today, and it will continue. This program has hundreds of millions of dollars still available, and we won't stop accepting applications, as the Secretary said, until all of the money is spent. But we'd rather see a massive flow of applications coming our way in the next 4 days. Applying for rent relief is fairly easy. No one should let the language or technology be a barrier to applying. More than 50,000 households as of today have received rent relief and utility relief. And we have communicated many times that applicants can get 100% of the unpaid rent and utilities that they owe covered. Just here in Contra Costa, the 50,000 households that have received rent relief, close to 4,800 households have already been assisted and received payment. We've always prioritized applications with the greatest risk, but at the point where we are right now, we are prioritizing every application. Anyone under 80% or less of the area median income that is behind on rent and utilities. Earlier this summer, we created a number of improvements to our website, many of them improvements that were the result of hearing from customers or hearing from organizations that were processing these applications with customers on the ground. And once again, tenants and landlords can find if they are eligible and be directly linked to the application form by going to housingiskey.com. If they don't have access to the internet, have any questions, help determining their eligibility, they can call our rent relief call center at 833-430-2122 and make an appointment. And you can, of course, always be connected to one of our 140 plus community organizations such as Shelter Inc. who have provided pivotal services, pivotal support in getting these applications transmitted to our program. We also have a more streamlined application. We've talked about this before, but I want to say a few words about that. Applicants, we find this application easy to understand, simply to fill out. We know that customers don't have to plod through those typical lengthy forms and spend hours and hours, so we made it simple. We made simple questions available. Probably the best news that we've been communicating for several weeks is that there are fewer supporting documents required. Everyone knows how difficult it can be to find, go through their files, find all of this documentation that they typically need to send. So we have whittled down our requirements to the bare legal necessities. And a lot of these questions are simply yes or no questions, attesting that they are responding truthfully without necessarily having to submit right away a piece of documentation like a lease or proof of income. Again, there are many ways to apply. The fastest way is probably, of course, to go online, housingiskey.com. Our application is also mobile friendly for those that don't use a computer but use their smartphone to apply. Again, the toll free is 1-833-430-2122. We have multilingual staff available. Our eligibility instructions and application form is professionally translated in 4 languages: Simplified Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, and Tagalog. And always very important to say, there's no question whatsoever on the immigration status of the person applying on anyone in the household where they are applying. No question, information will not be shared with any other state or federal entity. Confidentiality of this information is paramount. And let me conclude with what I'm sure people are wondering, which is what happens if people don't apply before October. What happens then? Well, as I said, eviction filings could start happening, but there's some really, really important reminders. Starting October 1, if a renter has unpaid rent and receives a pay or quick notice, it's a notice that typically landlords put on the door of the unit because the person has unpaid rent, the person can pay the rent that they owe or apply for rent relief immediately upon receiving this notice to protect themselves from eviction. Now, it's important to say that if a person receives this notice and they want to make an appointment to apply, of course, we have some days that it may take for the person to go to an organization like Shelter Inc. and apply in person. But it is very important to notify the landlord that they are intending to apply or that they are looking for an appointment to apply. And there are forms on our website, housingiskey.com, that a person can use to fill out this form and have the proof in their hand and send to their landlord that they are seeking to apply or they have applied to the form. This will pause the eviction proceedings. This is very, very important for everyone to know. Now, I'm also going to say a few words in Spanish. Muchas gracias a las personas que están aquí. Queremos simplemente, como la secretaria dijo, reiterar que tenemos 4 días para que esta fecha de la protección del desalojo concluya. 4 días, estos próximos 4 días son críticos, son muy importantes para que las gentes apliquen en housingiskey.com, housingiskey como llave.com. Si las personas no llegan a aplicar antes de septiembre 30, a partir de octubre 1, tienen que tener todavía protección para el desalojo, pero tienen que aplicar inmediatamente. Muchas veces los propietarios ponen una notificación en la puerta, que es la notificación que indica que el proceso del desalojo va a empezar. Por lo tanto, es muy importante que cuando reciban esa notificación, las personas inmediatamente apliquen al programa en housingiskey.com. No hay ninguna pregunta sobre el estado migratorio de las personas. Esta información es confidencial. Esta información no pasa a ninguna otra entidad estatal o federal. Se queda en el programa. Eso es muy, muy importante. No tengan miedo. Sabemos que es a veces un poquito nervioso aplicar este tipo de programas, pero la ayuda está aquí. Tenemos cientos de millones de dólares disponibles para este programa, pero la ventana de tiempo se está cerrando. Así que mientras más rápido apliquen a este programa, mejor. I am here joined with a number of team members from the Department of Housing and Community Development. Jeffrey Ross, who is our Deputy Director for Federal Programs, is here with us, and we'll be able, with the Secretary and I, to answer any questions that you may have, specific questions that you have about these changing eviction protections that we are going through right now. So with that, I will pause here and I'll take, we can start taking any questions.
Yes.
There's a lot of fear, I think, and confusion around what's going to happen after October 1st. My understanding is it's this idea that there's suddenly going to be a lot of evictions immediately. There's processes, correct? What would you say to people who are just right?
Yes, you are absolutely correct. There is a process in place. We have been preparing for this transition for many months. So what I would encourage renters and landlords, right, is to apply for the program if you have any back rent or if you are unable to meet your rent. The other thing that I would say is to visit our website, the housingiskey.com website. We have developed a number of resources, as the director mentioned, including resources on how to access legal services or legal support. We have 140 organizations statewide, as you know, Shelter Inc., that are ready to provide that one-on-one assistance to help access the rent relief program, but also to connect to legal services if those are necessary.
I want to follow up, you mentioned landlords, and I think, there's a lot of emphasis on what's going to happen to renters.
Very similar. Landlords should also visit the housingiskey.com website. They can, if they need assistance with completing the application, they can also get in touch with one of the 140 organizations that are available. We have a strong partnership with the California Apartment Association. They've been doing a really tremendous job in terms of getting information out to landlords. And you know, as the director mentioned, there is also a 1-800 a toll-free line available in multiple languages to help renters and landlords. I would ask, Director, if you have anything else to add.
No, our message to landlords has been always consistent, is you are on this together, right? With us, with the renter, you have to pay for maintenance, you have to pay your mortgage. The money ultimately has to be paid to the landlord. And so to the extent that they can apply, they can talk to the renter to apply together, apply on their own, you know, we'll solve this problem for everybody, for them, for the renters, for everybody.
Jeffrey, you know that?
So the key is that when someone falls behind on their rent, the landlord and the tenant, our goal is for them to be able to work together and to make sure that either one of them can actually come into the program. They can come in at any time between now and the end of March of 2022, because the modified rental protections are actually tied to the program during that period. And so, as the director and the secretary were saying, the program continues to remain open. We're going to continue to be making payouts. So if folks reach that point where they fall behind any time between now and then, or they believe they're about to fall behind, they can still come into the program, still receive assistance, and still receive payments. So the dates are important to understand when certain rules take effect, but it doesn't mean that you have to apply by that time or you can't receive assistance.
So landlords don't need to worry about applying by the end of the month?
No, they can. Right, so they can still come into the program, seek assistance, and work with their tenant to receive payment. So that continues on through the end of March of 2022, and as the program continues to stay open.
Si la persona, si el inquilino ya aplicó para el programa, hay protecciones contra el desalojo. Si el propietario trata de hacer, de desalojar al inquilino, hay protecciones contra el desalojo. Lo que queremos que los inquilinos sepan es de que están protegidos, no pueden ser desalojados. Es importante que contacten a servicios, a una organización con servicios legales para poder navegar el proceso, ¿verdad?, en las cortes. Pero el caso con un inquilino que ya ha aplicado, hay protecciones adicionales contra el desalojo. Sí. Sí, se van a asustar, pero es importante de que no se asusten y que no dejen su vivienda, porque hay protecciones. Le voy a invitar al director para que hable sobre los pasos que tiene que tomar la persona. Sí.
La pregunta es muy importante, and I will say it in English too, because she's asking about people that received a pay or quit notice, but they have not received they've applied, but they have not received the money to pay the landlord. Entonces, voy a decir algo muy importante. Las personas que ya aplicaron al programa y no han recibido sus fondos, y a lo mejor no hay comunicación con el propietario, por lo tanto, pues no sabe el propietario que este proceso está pasando y van y ponen esa notificación en la puerta. Esas personas van a recibir un mensaje en los próximos 2-3 días del programa para que esa notificación de que su solicitud está en proceso sea mostrada al propietario. Porque el propietario, si investiga cuáles son las reglas de este programa, va a saber que una vez que la persona ha aplicado al programa y está en proceso, no puede empezar el proceso de evicción. Es importante que la gente también actúe. Cuando ven un mensaje del programa diciendo su solicitud está en proceso, tienen que hacer todo lo posible para enviarle ese mensaje. Tiene que haber comunicación con el propietario, tienen que enviarle ese mensaje para que el propietario sepa que el proceso sigue. Y eso pone pausa al proceso de desalojo. Eso pone pausa al proceso de desalojo. What I'm trying to say is that in the next few days, people that have applied to the program but have not received payment will receive a notification from the program informing them that their application is in process. And that's very important because a landlord may take action after October 1, but the renter can show the landlord that they receive notification from the program that that process is on their way for the landlord to cease, to stop from taking action through eviction proceedings.
Right, we've actually added 700 staff in the last couple of weeks, so we have just shy of 1,300 staff working on processing applications. So we definitely anticipate, we know we're not at peak application. We know that that will probably happen sometime in the next month, and then it will stay there for a while before it begins to reduce down. So we completely anticipate that. And generally speaking, once a completed application has been submitted, it takes us about a couple of weeks to fully process and approve, and then it takes about 1 to 2 weeks afterwards for that payment to go out. So we're looking at roughly a 4-week process once a completed application has been submitted. Jeffrey Ross, and it's Geoffrey Ross, and Assistant Director for Federal Programs.
So who's in charge of notifying the judges when the owner wants to sign the eviction? I mean, are they all aware about this and that they cannot sign this eviction if there is a rental application in? Are they up to date or the judges don't know yet?
So we've been working with the Judicial Council and the courts across the state for the last several months to make sure that we have a process in place. So that way the courts do know what to anticipate if a renter or a landlord are coming into the court. That we also have a dedicated phone line for the courts to be able to reach in and talk to the program directly, and that we can be very responsive. So that way we can identify who's received assistance or who is in process of receiving assistance from the program throughout the state.
So the judges can confirm that the person is in the process.
Correct.
Looking back, do you think the state took too long to set up everything from the beginning?
So I think it's important to let everyone know that this program never existed anywhere in terms of what we are now doing. This is the first time a rental assistance program of this type has been launched. And so as the state of California, we are the largest state in the union. We have 49 jurisdictions that receive direct dollars around the state. And so we had to be able to stand that up and coordinate that. I am proud to say that there is no state in the country that has approved more payments than we have. We're at $1.69 billion and expanding rapidly. We're about to overtake our partners in Texas to have the most cash out in the next couple of weeks. And so it has been a process, and we would have loved to have the process we have in place today when we launched on March 15th. But there was a process for us to grow. We've hit a stride where we are now at 65 million a week in payouts. We're rapidly trying to get up to 100 million a week in payouts. That takes a lot of time and effort, and we've done that while we've been operating the program. It's important to note, last year, the city of Los Angeles had the largest rental assistance program of its type in the nation. They paid out $100 million in 6 months. We are trying to get to a point where we will pay out $100 million a week. So it is something that's never been done before, and it's at a size and scale that dwarfs anything that has ever been contemplated. So it was a little slower than we would like, but we're at a point now where we want all Californians to understand if you need assistance that the program is here and we're able to make payments.
If you already had your rent repaid, what protections do you have now?
So if you still have ongoing need, just because you've received assistance in the past does not mean that you cannot continue to receive assistance. So through the 2 rounds of funding that we've received from the federal government, a household can receive a maximum of 18 months of assistance. And then if a household is even receiving up to 18 months, working with our partners like Shelter Inc. and others around the state, we're trying to make sure that households can be linked into other services and other programs to make sure that ongoing assistance is still available, and making sure that we can address the totality of a household's need, not just their rental need.
So after the 18 months, are you giving a notification that you're no longer receiving protection or payments?
Right, so as folks come in, one of the things that we're trying, and case managers are trying to make sure that they work with households on, is so that they understand what assistance that they've been receiving, what they're still eligible for, so that communication is ongoing. And so that is part of the case management that we're trying to make sure is in effect for all households receiving assistance.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, if you apply and then you're denied, are you immediately going to be evicted, or what are your grounds there, or protections when you are applying and they get denied and they told their landlord that they applied?
Right, so if a household is denied because they're not eligible, then at that point, the eviction process can proceed. The question will be is there other opportunities for that household to try and receive assistance? Again, trying to work with our partners around the state to see what other assistance might be available. But the rental protections are tied to the program, so if you are denied from participating in the program, that court process will proceed. Doesn't necessarily mean an eviction, but it means that there's now a possibility of it.
Is there a specific number of days the tenant needs to show proof that he applied for the
15 days. So
15 days from what date?
15 days from the time that they received the notice, to be able to provide proof that they are participating in the program.
Work days or?
15 work days, yes.
So I'm sorry, can you see if they've been holding on in some other way this for 4 months and didn't apply because maybe they didn't have the information or this was trying to survive, is it too late for them to apply? If
It's
they
not-
got their first eviction notice in April or whatever?
So no, it would be a new eviction notice as of October 1st and going forward, because that is the new process and rules that are in effect.
And if someone were not eligible, so it doesn't make more money?
Yeah, right, correct. So to be eligible, you have to make 80% or lower of your area median income, and that fluctuates a bit around the state. So when folks come into the housingiskey.com website, we're able to help identify, and as well as case management, also make sure that we're helping folks understand who is eligible, who's not. Generally speaking, 70% of the folks that we are assisting are 30% AMI or lower. 90% overall are 50% AMI or lower. So very small percentage is above 50% being served. So we are really serving folks at a very low income, and generally speaking, the folks coming in are going to be eligible.
You said 18 months, is there a dollar amount or does it just depend on?
The dollar amounts based on what we're able to verify is the rent due.
And if they pay $2,000 a month, are they gonna get $2,000 a month in assistance?
Yes.
So the notification itself needs to apply with something specific to be valid?
Once they submit it on.
So there is a process that a landlord would have to follow to notice properly an eviction. And so that would all be part of the court proceedings. However, if there is a notice that goes up, again, we want tenants to understand, come in now and get assistance to help stave off that eviction, and then to be able to prevent that court proceeding from going forward at that moment of time.